Henry George was a social philosopher during the late 19th century. He was raised in a lower middle-class family. He abandoned his family's very religious beliefs to go to the Franklin Institute instead of his religious school. His formal schooling ended at 14 when he was hired as a foremast boy on a ship. He ended up on the West Coast where he started his job as a typesetter and was able to immediately submit editorials for publication, including the popular What the Railroads Will Bring Us.
Numerous problems. Henry George felt that land should be made common property. In the late 19th century, crop prices were falling and railways were taking up more and more land. George inspired the economic philosophy, Georgism. This is the belief that people should own the value they produce themselves, and that the economic value derived from land, including natural resources, should belong equally to all members of society.
Prominent figures such as Andrew Carnegie argued that the free market provided enough for all those willing to work hard, make sacrifices, and play by the rules. However, Henry George did not agree with these perspectives and claimed inequality occurred because of structural flaws in the economy, and if left unchecked, it would eventually transform America into a nation of haves and have-nots, which would mean a society where a small portion of aristocrats parade over the impoverished masses.
The role of labor unions. George supported labor unions and was a proud member of the Printers Union. Although he was a member and supported them, he did not see them as a final solution of labor exploitation. George campaigned for the mayor of New York in 1886 as a candidate for the United Labor Party, which was the short-lived party of the Central Labor Union.
Due to George's views on the impact of wealth, he saw the captains of industry as robber barons. He believed that because of the wage gap at the time, the robber barons were taking full advantage of the working class. George also knew that the robber barons did not agree with his beliefs because many of them were the people who owned the vast undeveloped land that his single tax applied to.
Role of immigrants. George felt in regards to the role of immigrants that the solution to the knotty labor question was apparent. He felt that a population born in China, expecting to return to China, and living here in a little China of its own, is without the slightest attachment to the country. George also made several speaking journeys to places like Ireland and Scotland, where access to land was still a major political issue.
Henry George felt that a boom in railroad construction would benefit only the lucky few who owned interests in the railroad and other related enterprises, and this was seen in an article he wrote, What the Railroad Will Bring Us. He felt that the concentration of unearned wealth was the main cause of poverty. His argument was that social and technological advances in a free market economy led to an imbalance of wealth.
Public policy. Henry George's primary public policy goal was his tax on the value of land. He is the author of Progress and Poverty, which discussed and advocated the tax.
In regards to the role of government, George said, "It is not enough that men should vote. It is not enough that they should be theoretically equal before the law." During the late 19th century, feelings that political equality alone was no longer sufficient to ensure Republican citizenship in the modern age of factories and wages. He argued that the government needed to be empowered to enact measures that would limit inequality and promote the common good. In addition, George felt that the power of the government needed to be increased to protect and promote democracy and Republican ideas.
A significant issue that George strongly supported was a single tax. A single tax is a system of taxation based mainly on or exclusively on one tax, typically chosen for special properties, often being of land value. Primary source. Henry George was an author of Progress and Poverty, which is a discourse on the questions of why poverty accompanies economic and technological progress, and why economies exhibit a tendency towards business cycles.